Hey, all. Continuing my discussion about cosmic horror. If you're familiar with the psychological concept of the lure of the void, it's an interesting phenomenon. It's basically when you're confronted by the void, either in the idea of like a chasm or an abyss, people sometimes get the urge to go take a swan dive off into the void. They jump off a bridge, jump off a cliff, jump off a building, that kind of thing. And there's this bizarre psychological compulsion that can sometimes hit people. And it's an interesting thing to study. The more you read about it, the more disturbing it is. But it's that idea of that that you're on steady ground, but one step and you are off. And I think that is, in a literary fashion, expressed in the interest in cosmic horror, because cosmic horror is rooted in that idea of someone's everyday existence being uprooted by the knowledge of the ineffable, the unfathomable, the elder god, the other, this thing that consumes you. And I mentioned it before, but I explored this in my science fiction cosmic horror novel Farther. And this is under one of my pen names, Dean Vale. And that one I have a great love of science fiction. I certainly grew up reading a lot of science fiction as a kid, and sometimes through my adult life. And Farther was my desire to explore the just mind-boggling vastness of the universe. And in that story, I dispensed with spaceships. There aren't really spaceship travel. There's conduit travel, which is basically wormhole technology that allows people to zip from point to point to point. And of course, with creating the conceit of having a viable wormhole-based technology, it's allowed humanity to expand out into the universe and pursue what I would consider celestial imperialism. Basically, you could have this bidding process with regard to these massive corporations that are bouncing people back and forth off into other planets to exploit for their own purposes. And in the context of a Farther, that's very front and center. It's got a very Paul Verhoeven kind of vibe to it. And this commercialization of space. And so what the concept of Farther is the idea of this almost a race to get farther out into space. And this story specifically travels with a group of 3 terranauts who they operate in basically these power suits, which serve as kind of those are their space vehicles, are these power suits, which have self-sustaining life support, that basically people can exist for a period of time in those suits, and they jump through conduits which are guided. They use an artificial intelligence to plot out spots to go, and this team goes to a planet which is currently, they've gone farther than anyone else, hence the title. It's in Andromeda Galaxy, and it's a world that is a cosmic horror playground, in my opinion. It's this desolate, frozen world, and they encounter these things called the Spires. And the Spires are there, and they're quite mysterious. They're certainly a nod to, say, Arthur C. Clarke's monoliths that were famously portrayed in 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's kind of like that, except a little more jagged edge, let's just say that, hence the Spires. And in that story, you have these 3 terranauts, and they encounter unusual things out on this planet. And I think I successfully captured that sense of isolation, because once you go through one of these conduits, the conduit closes because it's a heavy energy requirement to keep one of those open. So you kind of like go through, whoop, and it closes, and you're on your own. And those teams, the Terranauts, are very skilled at what they do, at this sort of exo exploration. And needless to say, they get into some challenging situations on the planet that they're exploring. And there's this underpinning idea that something's not fully right with this program. Something's off, something's strange, and people are trying to find out what's going on exactly. So I really think I tapped cosmic horror successfully, braiding it with the science fiction in farther. So you might give that one a look. I think fans of science fiction, fans of space exploration, fans of cosmic horror, I think would all find things that they would enjoy it.